Okay. Madonna and folks, we're going to start the meeting. We're going to start the meeting. Okay, we're live. We have the linking still happening. I don't know why we get this weird delay. Okay. And is everyone muted who's online? Oh, I know why this is doing it. Hold on a second. There we go. That should be here. Okay. Welcome, everybody. That'll fix itself now. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the joint meeting of the Creve Coeur.
You must be on twice.
That is so strange. Yay. That's right. Well, that's not, yeah. Okay. Well, good. We're all fixed. Thank you, Sydney. Magic of technology. I'm Harvey Ferdman, president of the Maryland Heights Township Democratic Club, and Sydney Jackson, who just did a great assist, is the president of the Creve Coeur Democratic Club. We have about a half a dozen people in the room here. This is a big experiment to see if folks want to meet in person or continue online. So we're doing hybrid meetings until we figure that out. So welcome, everybody. And I will open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Share the screen there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And there's even a flag on the moon. Okay. We'll stop that share. Okay. Sydney, if you want to introduce. Okay, we have a couple of speakers tonight. We'll start with Sydney's going to introduce our first speaker. What's up, Mike?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our meeting this evening. Our first speaker this evening is going to be Frank. I'm sorry, remind me of your last name. Maniaci. And he is going to talk to us about the ballot initiative that will be that they are currently gathering signatures for to be on the ballot in 2024 to help raise minimum wage here in Missouri, as well as provide earned sick leave for workers all across our state. So I'm going to turn it over to Frank.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I was tasked with training everybody on how to fill out these ballots. I was hoping to see more people in person, but I found out that there was a very short notice on this. So I'm willing to come back next month to do this again. I'll just get some contact information here and I can come back. But anyway, so the training is on how to fill these ballots out. So this is what the ballot's going to look like. And I don't know where you can go and get these ballots at, but wherever you can get them, what has worked out best for me is, say you're in a crowded area, and by the way, I've gathered roughly 400 signatures so far. You're at a crowded area, there's public going around, and you see somebody walking by. The best thing to ask first is, hey, are you a registered voter in Missouri? And they'll say yes or no. Well, after that, if they say yes, you say, okay, well, I have a ballot initiative petition to raise the minimum wage and guarantee sick time for workers. Would you be interested in signing it? And usually they'll say yes or no. Very rarely I've ever had somebody like indecisive about this. So if they say yes, the best thing to do You just give them the ballot petition form, give them a pen, and you just go along with it. I'm not sure how clear you guys can see this, but you just follow along with it. So you first say in the first block, sign your name however you wish, print, cursive, doesn't matter. Date sign, always tell them what date it is. Tell them to print the address plus the city. Many times what I've noticed is people will print the address and they don't put their city in with it. So, and even after they go through, make sure you see a city in there, because even after you tell them, sometimes they will forget. And then you tell them put in their zip code. Sometimes they'll start to put in their zip code by accident, like what happened right here. And if you can, stop them and then just cross it out. Have them put in their zip code. With congressional districts, sometimes I just skip over that, but they will fill that in for you. Whenever you turn these things in, whoever does the notary on them, if there's maybe something a little off, they'll be able to correct that. And then when you get to the last box, I always try to get them to kind of pause when I get to the last box, and I let them know, print your name either in full or as it is on your voter's registration. If you don't know, do your full name. This is the most important box right here, because if it is wrong, then the whole thing gets thrown out. So, and as all of you know, John Ashcroft, he's not going to be in favor of this. So if he can throw out signatures, he's going to throw out signatures. What this ballot initiative does is it will increase the minimum wage on January 1st, 2025 to $13.75 an hour, and then another $1.25 an hour each year until 2026, which is just one more year, which makes it $15 an hour. After that, it will be adjusted based on the consumer price index. So as inflation goes up, the minimum wage will go up with it. Also, it guarantees 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked. Now, there is a cap though. I've heard it's 8 sick days, which is roughly 64 hours, because the math comes out to be about 69 hours a year. I've also heard that there's other petition initiatives that are similar to this one, and apparently the cap on the sick days is 7 instead of 8. I don't know which one it is that's going to go through. I would imagine whichever one gets the most signatures is the one that's going to go on. And apparently the other petition initiatives out there have $16 an hour and $16.25 as the minimum wage for 2026. But this one in particular that I'm doing is for 15. What I have noticed is the sick time people are very interested in. I work at Boeing, and over there, no matter how long you work, I'm a union member at Boeing. No matter how long you work, you get no more than 48 hours of sick time. So in their defense, they say in manufacturing, that's good, which it is. I had never had any sick time before I started there. But anyway, so yeah, it takes 3 years to get 48 hours of sick time. And then that's it. So I don't know if people can respond with questions. I'm not familiar with how this meeting works, but if anybody has any questions, they can ask. How do we normally do this? Do we have people online ask questions first and then in person, or?
Yeah. Anybody have any questions they want to throw in there, they can do that. Or folks can also feel free to unmute themselves and ask the question.
Okay, can they hear you?
They might be able to hear me very faintly.
Okay. We'll take online questions first. So if anybody has any questions online, put them either in the chat or unmute themselves and say what you got to say.
So I have a question. This is Cheryl Rose. Well, actually, I have two questions. I was out getting petitions on signatures on this petition on Saturday, and several people said, "Oh, I've signed twice. I can sign again." What will happen when those get to Jeff City? Will they just cross those extra ones out, or?
Yes, that's what happens. They just get rid of the extras. I would just say, like, it does say that there's a penalty on here for signing twice, but honestly, are they going to send the police after you for signing this thing twice? I don't see that happening. So, because somebody could easily say, well, I forgot.
Yeah.
So
So
just make sure you don't have. Oh, I was gonna, just make sure you don't have two of the, just make sure that they don't sign the same thing twice.
Yeah. So my second question is, so what group are you with? Because I know there's a lot of groups around the city that are doing these petition, going out and getting signatures.
Okay, so I've actually volunteered all of my time on this, and now I have a contact with Missouri Jobs with Justice, and that's how I've
Okay.
been able to do this.
Okay.
But personally, I am doing this as a District 837 machinist. So
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
And
Any
I
other
just want,
questions?
yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for clarifying that you're with Jobs with Justice, because like you said, there are a couple different petitions, but I assume J with J is probably just putting out the same one, because I signed one for somebody else from J with J. And so would that be the same one as you then, most likely? So I've already signed it.
Yes, it definitely would be.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, okay.
I have a question about, so for the earned sick leave, so I know sick leave, obviously, like the name is explanatory about like, you can use it when you're sick, but oftentimes companies that give their employees sick leave allow them to also use it for things like doctor's appointments and things like that. So with the earned sick leave that we can earn through this like ballot initiative, would workers be able to use that for, just like regular checkups and things like that to go to the doctor and things like of that nature, not necessarily when you have a doctor's note to present saying that we're sick.
Okay, so the question that was asked was, what can the sick leave be used for? I'll just word it that way. There is nothing on here that says anything about how it can be used, so it is assumed that it can be used in any way. There's also barriers that are going to be put in the law that will prevent employers from saying, you got to do this criteria before we can give you the sick time. So it's going to be like the way it is in my union contract, where it's guaranteed. As soon as for me, it's when I cross an anniversary date. When I cross an anniversary date, I automatically get my 48 hours of sick time, and I can use it however I wish. So now that's not going to be, it may or may not be that cut and dry with your employer, but for any of you out there that are in unions, the way it works with me, literally, as long as I call before the start of the shift and say, hey, I'm not going to make it to work, they can't stop me. So, I mean, hopefully it can be like that for everybody someday, but it's not laid out specifically in this petition to do that. So, with enough push, maybe any employer, it can happen that way. You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, I see two in the chat. Let me,
There's 12 comments in the chat, so DJ said the penalty for signing.
yeah,
The person's signature will be counted at all.
right.
The Rose also shared that Action State Rose is also gathering signatures.
Okay. I haven't seen anybody from Action St. Louis. So Jobs with Justice though has a number of people out there getting these. So they're connected to all the unions in the area. So another thing is so if you got no way of contacting Jobs with Justice to get these petitions, but I guarantee you they got many of these. They probably have thousands of blank ones sitting in their office right now. It's over on Clifton Avenue. It's near the IBEW Local 1 Union Hall. But I would imagine that most union halls will also have these petitions. So, I mean, maybe even this one does. I don't know. But if you find the closest union hall to you, ask. So, especially if it's a union that's going to be more towards like retail workers, so like the UFCW or SEIU or anything like that. So unfortunately my union's full of Republicans, so I've only got a couple of people that are actually trying to get signatures out for this. So but I built military aircraft, so that's kind of expected. but there's a surprising amount of support for this, even in the shop. They're not willing to get signatures, but they will sign it. I've gathered 60 signatures so far from my coworkers, and I haven't even gone through the plant floor yet. This is just at union meetings. So, looks like there's no more online. What about on the floor? Any questions on the floor?
This is going to mention the cost of living increase is built in this time.
Yes, yes. So, they go by. It says consumer price index, so probably the same thing that's used for COLA adjustments. So, which I don't know, like my COLA adjustments, I'm never happy with them. The best I ever get out of them is like a dime an hour, and I make well above the minimum wage. So, we might have to, if we can get this passed, we might have to do one in the future to put better cost of living on it. I don't know, but
Thank you.
yeah, but one step at a time. So, thank you everybody for listening.
And as I said earlier, I'm coming off of vacation. We got back at, I think we got home at 2:30 a.m. last night. So I'm a little fuzzy. So I would like to ask any elected officials here or candidates to introduce themselves and say a few words. And I know we have Representative Richard Brown, and we have LaDonna Applebaum representative here. City council members, we have all kinds of folks. So if you would, whoever wants to go first. LaDonna, you want to? We'll have LaDonna speak first.
Representative Brown looks ready.
Needs to get on camera, you know.
Oh,
Oh, everybody, look who I have. This is the newest member of the 71st district that I'm aware of. This is King Louis, Little Bubba Applebaum. So anyway, I had to show him off tonight. I'm really excited to have him, and he's going to go with me just about everywhere I go. So wanted to introduce a couple of other people to you tonight besides my dog. I know we're all like, well, first of all, I'm State Representative LaDonna Applebaum. I'm running for re-election in 2024. I'm currently in my third term, and the fourth term is 2024. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for 2024. Number one, because we have the most amazing, incredible woman at the top of the ticket in our state. Crystal Quade. If anyone can do this, she can, and it's like the perfect storm is brewing. And I hate it that we have to win an election over something as horrible as Roe versus Wade, that being overturned, but this is how we're going to do it. So I'm super excited that we have Rachel to help us get there. And I'm really excited to introduce you to a gentleman that's on the call tonight that I've been serving with for the past 5 years, I guess. And it's such a delight. Representative Richard Brown is currently the assistant floor leader. And when he speaks to our caucus every Monday when we're in session, he starts it off with an amazing positive statement and something to always tell the other representatives how to take care of themselves during session and stay focused and be positive and take good care of our mental health, because Lord knows we need it in that building. But anyway, Richard is just someone that is always there for everyone. One of the reasons he wanted to be the floor leader, and he makes a joke about it, that he's like, I don't have any family. But I think he might have a special lady now that he might be taking with onto some of these events. But I'm really excited to introduce, and if I can go ahead and let him speak, I hope that's okay. Yes, okay. Is my friend, Representative Richard Brown. Are you at the beach?
I am not at the beach today, but I hope to get back there soon.
I will.
For those of you who don't know, I take pictures at the Capitol Beach. The Capitol Beach is in a secret location within the Capitol building. And people on my Facebook page, they like to joke and kid with me. And sometimes I have special guests who join me at the Capitol Beach. But so good to be with you, as LaDonna said. And wow, thank you for the introduction, LaDonna. Wow, that was a great introduction. I'm Richard Brown out of Kansas City. I'm state representative for district number 27. And as LaDonna said, I'm the current assistant minority leader. So I am Crystal Quade's right-hand man. And let me tell you about that lady. Crystal Quade, phenomenal. I'm excited, y'all. Okay. I'm running for lieutenant governor. And let me tell you something. Missouri ain't as red as people think. Okay. I've been working the rural districts for the past 2 years. I've been out there talking with people in the rural areas. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of independent voters in our state. And I know that with the House Democratic Campaign Committee and with candidates across the state, we realize this. And I really see an opportunity in 2024. I'm really happy to see that Crystal Quade is running for governor. I'm glad to see that Lucas Kunce is back out there on that campaign trail. I'm glad to see that we have other folks who have gotten into the Senate race. It sounds good and promising for Democrats across the state. And I'm really looking forward to the 2024 election cycle. And they also call me the Democratic hat.
And I would like to personally invite you, Richard, to come to my campaign kickoff event, September 28th, and all of the people on the call can come meet you.
Okay, sounds great. Look forward to it.
All right. So now do I get to introduce the next lady? I'm super excited. I get to announce so many people tonight. My city council woman from Creve Coeur, Cole Greer.
Good evening, everyone. Like Representative Applebaum said, I am Councilwoman Nicole Greer from the City of Creve Coeur, and I plan to run for a re-election next year in 2024 for my 3rd city council term. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. Well, we have an exciting bench coming along for our candidates, and there's many more. There's challengers to Josh Hawley. There will be a primary on that. A couple of good candidates. There's challengers coming up in a lot of the statewide and local elections, so stay tuned. I'd like to move on to our next program. It's a rather interesting concept. There's a group called Vote 16 Missouri. They've been getting some press on National Public Radio lately. And rather than me trying to explain what they're up to, I'd like to introduce DJ Yearwood, who's with their campaign, to explain what this is about. Many of you probably haven't heard about this yet. It's kind of new as far as getting attention in the press, at least. So DJ, you disappeared. Uh-oh. Oh, there you are.
Here I am. Yep.
All right. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. So hello, my name is DJ Yearwood. I am the campaign director for Vote 16 Mo. Vote 16 Mo is an initiative to lower the voting age in city council and school board elections to 16. And so when we begin to talk about that concept, a lot of people have immediate drawback. It's a controversial topic that hasn't been considered before. It's one that, it takes a lot of work and something that people just haven't really thought about in a way of incorporating young people in the vote in that manner. We're leading this campaign for 5 main reasons that I'll go over quickly with you. The first is no taxation without representation. So the first reason outlines the fact that 16 and 17-year-olds are being taxed on their income with no access to representation. Missouri's labor laws stop at 16 years old. So 16-year-olds can work unrestricted hours, and be taxed on their income just the same as any other member of society would. We believe that goes against Missourian values. We believe it goes against American values for that to happen, along with the fact that those dollars are being spent largely at the local level where they're impacted most. And that brings us into our second reason, is called creating the civic transition. So many of you can easily reference Missouri's graduated driver program. We don't launch our young drivers onto the road. And I think that many of you on this call would think that's insane. You just turn 16 and be able to go for your driver's license. That's not what we do. Here in Missouri, we have driver's laws that ease our drivers into complete driver, into an unrestricted driver's license. At 15 and a half, you get your permit. At 16, you get a restricted driver's license. And at 18, you can get a unrestricted driver's license. And so we're kind of modeling how we ease drivers onto the road and how we would ease voters into the voting process. So by limiting 16 and 17-year-olds to be able to vote in school board and local elections, we would be easing them into the political process in a manner that is nonpartisan. And this is what's really important, because our local elections, school board elections, are nonpartisan. There is no D or R next to the candidate's name on the ballot. And that is very helpful when considering how we can create a better educated, a better engaged, and better prepared electorate, one that is more considerate of governance over party politics. And so one thing that we see right now is the 18 through 24 demographic lacking heavily in local elections. And we know why that is. Our polls say, and polls from the Center for Civic Engagement and Research, it says that 18 through 24-year-old demographic lacks largely in part because of tension surrounding that point in their life. So when we're talking about how 18 through 24-year-olds are going off to college at this time, moving away, there's a lot of things that are happening at that point in their life that are discouraging for them to figure out the processes of voting, or if they're moved away, how to vote in their new area or vote back home via an absentee ballot. And so the reason why we lead this campaign is because we believe that creating a stable environment for people to experience their first voting at a local level where it impacts them most would largely increase that turnout impact. And we know that this is true because we've seen it before. Tacoma Park, Maryland has implemented this same policy, lower the voting age in city council and school board elections. And they have seen their turnout rate grow from a 4% overall to 40% in local elections, because of how that has trickled up since 2013 when they passed the amendment. And so we know that this is something that works for civic engagement. Our third reason is that we want to strengthen civics education. Many of you might have heard recently, since you're in the St. Louis area, and you can still listen to it now, but we did a podcast with St. Louis on the Air last week. And we had a couple of high school teachers join the podcast with us. And the high school civics teachers agreed, from rural Missouri. So we don't know what their political affiliations are, but from rural Missouri, they agreed that lowering the voting age in these local elections would completely change the way that they are able to teach voting and local government, because their students can apply it now. All of Missouri's leading universities embrace this idea, this educational concept of learning by doing. And we are enhancing the way that we can teach students about civic engagement, how to get started voting, how to look out for the issues that'll be on your ballot, how to contact your elected officials, what the right to representation looks like. We're teaching all of that at 16. Yes, I completely agree. We're teaching all of that at 16 when it's most important, when they have the support of their family, of their school to get started. And then also keep in mind that many of these elections are held at the very same high schools that these students attend. So when we're talking about making a plan to vote, they can skip out during lunch and go vote. And so it's about creating this process that's smooth and just encouraging for voters. Our fourth reason is that youth have a stake in the game. So we believe wholeheartedly that students are a school district's largest stakeholder. One thing that's happened out here, so I'll mention that I'm 16. I go to William Chrisman in Independence, Missouri. The Independence School District changed our school week from a 5-day school week to a 4-day school week. There was students who support it. There are students who do not support it. The district didn't hear from either of them. The fact that the district was able to completely restructure all thousands of these students' lives in just that instance without hearing from a single student on the issue is insane. Now students have to restructure their working schedules, their educational plans, when they're going to do homework, when they're going to do chores, how they're going to work with their family, their jobs. They have to restructure all these things that they didn't have to answer to a single student. And so these are the very issues that we're talking about that impact directly students' lives. But at the local level, cities, this is especially true with larger cities, but cities have a great impact on job access. All cities have impact on infrastructure like roads and sidewalks that 16, 17-year-olds drive on. And so when we're talking about where they have the most impact, or where the candidates and elected leaders have the most impact, it's at these levels. And we believe that all those impacted should be brought to the table. Those closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. I wholeheartedly believe and agree when people say that over time, you get more experience and you get more knowledge, about the election process, about the candidates, about the issues at hand. But that doesn't invalidate someone's immediate experience or immediate perspective that we believe should be brought to the table. Our fifth reason is that we will be increasing voter turnout. And I kind of touched on this already, but we believe that a thriving electorate is one that has the most civic participation. And we especially believe this is true because of what we've seen in Takoma Park. And so things that we can do to better educate and better prepare our electorate for the challenges of our democracy that we face today, we believe that we should do it. And we have seen reports recently that say that a person who votes in their first election, or a person who votes in one election is 30% more likely to vote in the next. And a person who votes in 2 or more consecutive elections is more than 60% likely to create the habit of voting. And so between 16 and 17 years old, we're getting in 2 elections, whether that's primary and general, or primary general, whatever that case may be, we're getting in at least 2 elections. And so we're automatically increasing civic engagement with this initiative. We're creating this expectation for representation. And we believe that there are no downsides. There are no downsides to expanding our electorate, widening the perspectives that are listened to, and providing representation for those who pay taxes. And it's always good to keep in mind that 16 and 17-year-olds can drive, they can get their pilot's license to fly planes, they can work jobs with unrestricted hours, they can be held criminally responsible, but we somehow draw the line at locally. And so I also wanted to make sure that I answer any questions that are at hand, or can speak to some comments if there are any.
Are there any questions from the floor?
Because they probably can't hear me.
We have somebody coming up for a question.
First of all, thank you for being here. My question is, so I don't know how large your group is, but have you all attended any city council meetings or school board meetings to make, usually you're limited to 3 minutes but to kind of talk this up in those meetings since you are targeting those elections?
Yes, we have, and mostly, so here in Kansas City is where a large part of our group is based, just because, we started it here and, we're still branching out. But we have attended we have been at every single council forum, because I don't know if you guys know this, but we just had an election this past month. So we had our general election in June. And I think over in St. Louis area, the primary was in April, or the general was in April. Anyway, so we have connected with every single candidate that was in that race. We showed up at every single candidate forum. We have been at our charter review commission. But when we speak to school board elections or school board meetings, school boards tend to make it excessively hard for students to attend those meetings by having them during the school day, or limiting who can speak, or if a parent has to speak on behalf of the student, or things like that. And so we have been only able to connect with school board members individually and not as a meeting. But yeah.
Okay, well, I would encourage you to do that, just because if you speak at a board meeting or a city council meeting, then it becomes part of public record. So I'm sorry
Okay.
that they're limiting you all from speaking at school board meetings. That's terrible. Here on the St. Louis side, most of the times they're in the evening time, so people can attend. And there have been some issues with them trying to restrict things that are talked about, but my opinion, that public comment period should be for anyone to, talk about anything related to the school district that they would like. So I would just encourage you to do that if you have that opportunity and that access. So again, thank you.
Yeah, and no problem. And I want to mention that, I've spoken with the St. Louis, with some members of St. Louis City Council or Board of Aldermen. And we, the board president is very supportive of this idea. And a lot of the members are. So, it's something that for us to be able to get this done, it would have to be the state telling the cities no.
Okay. All right. We'll keep talking it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? And Nicole, do we have any questions? I'm sorry, Sydney, do we have any questions on Zoom?
No, but just a couple of comments. You mentioned that the graduating driver's license analogy is helpful. She thinks that it would be a great talking point with friends and family. We'll try to explain it to them. And then Cheryl mentioned, she said, thank you. I wasn't too sure about this proposal, but you have presented a very convincing argument. So.
Okay, and yeah, we have another question from the floor.
How do you plan on adopting this? Do you plan on adopting it at the municipality level, the county level, or you're going to try to eventually put it on a statewide ballot?
Yeah, so I can't believe I didn't mention that. That's what I was missing. I was forgetting something. So we are running a statewide ballot initiative campaign, and we are attempting to be as nonpartisan as humanly possible when working with the state. And we are hoping that we can, for the sake of implementation and, voting systems and, making sure that we don't break anything when it comes to voting, if this were to happen, we are working with state officials to get it put on the November 2024 ballot.
So, I'm just going to let you know, I've talked to people with all different viewpoints, and conservatives are already against this.
So we do have a Republican bill sponsor. And so we have been successful in part with some Republicans. Of course, there have been legislators on both sides that have been reluctant or just outright not supportive, which is, to come with any initiative. But we keep hope, because we do have some Republican bill sponsors and co-sponsors.
Okay.
Has anyone done any projections, any statistical projections, especially since these are municipal elections. My understanding or experience with municipal elections is the turnouts are generally very low. Has anyone done projections on what percentage increase there would be in these elections?
So not necessarily for Missouri, but what we have seen in states that have enacted this, so there's a municipality in Iowa that has enacted it, a municipality in Michigan, so a couple of municipalities in Michigan, and the first one to do it in the United States was Tacoma Park, Maryland. Tacoma Park, Maryland enacted this initiative in 2013, or passed in 2013 and enacted in 2014. Since 2014, their voter turnout rate in local and school board elections went from 4% to 40%. And so, and the youngest demographic is the leading demographic that turns out. And so that 18 through 24-year-old demographic went from, I think it was like 1% turnout in 2013, 2014. That is now the leading demographic that shows up to those elections in Tacoma Park. And so we've seen this happen before. I know that there was a major increase in Michigan. I don't want to give the wrong number, so I can get back to you with that. But there was a large increase in Michigan and in Iowa.
Excellent. Are there any other questions from anyone on the floor or on Zoom? Okay, DJ, thank you very much. Good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Next time you're going to be in St. Louis, I know there was a chance you were going to be in person today.
Yeah.
Let me know and we'll see what's going on. At this point, are there any folks who have any announcements they'd like to make? I know LaDonna, who is out walking her dog, mentioned her upcoming campaign kickoff in September. And this time I'll get the name right, Nicole.
Hello again. So I serve on the policy council for the National Women's Political Caucus, St. Louis region. And tomorrow we are having our Casual Tuesday event. We're doing this the third Tuesday of every month. It's called Fun with the Caucus. And it's not just for women. Anyone can show up. And it's just a way for us to get together and have a casual conversation. You don't have to feel like you're being official or anything. We just kind of relax and talk. And tomorrow's location is Mellow Mushroom in Sunset Hills on South Lindbergh. And we do it from 6 to 7:30. So if anybody is in the area or would like to join us, we'd love to have you. Thanks.
Thank you. Sounds like a fun time for all.
It is fun.
Any other announcements, comments? Okay, please send any suggestions you have for our meeting speakers. I did get one for having Russ Carnahan, our new chair of the Missouri Democratic Party. I will work on that. I think it would be really cool if we can maybe get him and Crystal Quaid on the same program. Sydney and I will work on that and see what we can do. If you have any other suggestions, please forward them. And with that, if there's no other comments or announcements, we will conclude our meeting. Anyone? Okay. Thank you all very much. Take care.